Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. So don't hit that fast forward button. These are all great companies. You should add them to your team. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors, particularly if you're not already using them. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Tables and Video Boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. You can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an athletic director was our Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thank you to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. Our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just love the tools that come with the Huddle platform. Go to huddle.com and join the 100 million fans and users and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. We want to say thanks to Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every day, whether it's scheduling, rosters, results, communication. How about facilities? How about athletic eligibility and clearance? Home Campus does all of these things and more, does it better and does it faster than the other platforms. Go to homecampus.com. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on the podcast, homecampus.com. We also want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame and Beacon Creative. Now, Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade, but Beacon Creative takes it to a new level. Beacon's a content creation service. They're going to take your stories, your history, and come up with compelling narratives that you can share on social media. You got to see it to believe it. I want you to email John Townsend, and you can do that at John, John, at beaconwalloffame.com. Beacon Creative and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. It's a winning team that you should be a part of. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Gipper is the modern marketing platform that makes it easy for any athletic department to look like they're Division I, look like they're pros. Gipper is professional graphic design made easy, and it's easy because of the thousands of professionally designed templates that you can use and customize with your colors, your logo, your brand. Create, share, and schedule all your social media content in one simple platform, and that platform is Gipper. Go to gipper.com for more information. We also want to say thanks to Booster Hub, the #1 booster club software package. Booster Hub takes care of everything for your boosters: communication, sponsorship payments, concession sales, volunteer sign-up, volunteer changes. You know it's going to happen. Everything goes through their secure system. Nothing falls through the cracks, and everybody stays engaged. Give your boosters the platform they need. Give them the platform they deserve. Go to boosterhub.com. We want to say thanks to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio, but guess what? My assistant athletic director did, and it was a great experience, along with thousands of others. And while they were earning their degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We want to say thanks to our friends at Hometown. Hometown continues to be a leader in education-based athletics with their solutions that include things like, digital ticketing, of course, but how about fee-free fundraising, athletic website construction? Their list goes on and on. Whether you're an athletic director, a principal, even a head coach, Hometown's going to show you how to save time, how to raise more money, and how to bring your community together. You're going to find it all at hometown.com. We also want to say thanks to athletic surveys. You know, if you're not using a survey to check the pulse of your student athletes, your coaches, even your parents, you're missing out on a great opportunity. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that connects you with all of your stakeholders. And the information that you'll glean from these surveys, incredibly valuable. That's athleticsurveys.com. And as always, make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to Mississippi today. And our guest is Tabitha Beard. Tabitha is a certified Master Athletic Administrator. She's the Director of Athletics at Oxford High School. That's in Oxford, Mississippi. Has a tremendous background in athletics, also a member of the NIAAA board. So we're going to talk about that later. But Tabitha Beard, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, very excited. Thanks for taking part of your busy day to share with our listeners. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us your quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Kind of take us up through your college days, and then we'll take a break, hear about your career journey in the next segment. But what's the Tabitha Beard origin story?
I was born and raised in a town called Columbus, Mississippi. It's about 2 hours from Oxford, where I am now. My parents still live in the same house that I grew up in. I graduated along with my other three siblings from New Hope High School. I started teaching there in 2012 or 2002, sorry. 2003, took over as the second ever softball coach there. We still played slow pitch then. We did slow and fast pitch there. Coached there for 13 years, went to Tupelo, which is right up the road from me, about 45 minutes from here. As an assistant coach, it was the first time in my life I was an assistant coach, and it was probably one of the most fun years I ever had. And just being able not to have that pressure. And then it's a long, crazy story that I won't get into, but I say that, a much higher divine creature had a hand in it, and I ended up in Oxford. This is my 10th year, and love it. I live in a town about 15 minutes from here called Water Valley. But graduated from Delta. I went to Delta State for a year. Went back, met my husband that Christmas. Went back home to Mississippi University for Women, which is in Columbus. Graduated from there with my undergrad and my master's. So we always laugh that I had to go 3 hours from home to meet my husband when I came home for Christmas break that year. So only lasted a year away and then came back home, and really enjoyed that, getting to teach at my alma mater and coach there and do the things, and let my kids spend, their younger days there surrounded by their family before we moved on. So.
Yeah. We're going to jump into your career in our next segment. I want to go all the way back to growing up. I'm going to guess a lot of people, have an idea of Mississippi. It's small towns and, maybe one traffic light. What was your experience growing up, even before maybe middle school and high school?
Sure. New Hope is like, it's a small town inside of Columbus, which is a slightly bigger town. So it's considered the county. So when you say one stoplight, we don't even have one stoplight. So my favorite thing is, you say that and it's funny, but I remember it like it was yesterday, is that there was a gas station right by the school that sold the best barbecue sandwich. And every day before practice, I would go for lunch. I would go get a chicken barbecue sandwich and tater baby. So that goes back to how small we were. So, but I grew up as a gym rat and on a softball field. My dad owned a business there and had a contract with the school. So we, in essence, had keys to the school. And I just remember I have a sister that's 5 years older than me, and we grew up every day. It was we shoot 500 shots, we take 100 ground balls, 100, we field 100, we hit 100, and before our day could start, that's what we did. So just grew up around sports my whole life. Played, slow pitch softball was the thing then. We didn't really, we started fast pitch my senior year of high school. So I got to go all over playing ball with that. But just growing up, the same, the school's still there. Everything's the same. It was very small town USA, kind of thing. And I do laugh now because some of the things it's growing a little and they're changing a little, and they built a new high school and all the things. But, New Hope, to me, in my mind, when I go, is kind of frozen in time at, a little bit. And it still pretty much looks the same. I mean, I think they have a Dollar General now and a Family Dollar. So I feel like they're completely moving up in the world. But as far as it goes with where it is in the school and its layout, it's all pretty much the same. So it's very cool to, still see that. And like I said, my parents still live there. We live exactly 7 minutes from the school. And my grandmother actually lived right across from the school. So, I would walk to her house after school a good bit and, get to hang out with grandma and until mom got off work when I wasn't in a gym or on a field somewhere. So.
Wow. Again, the dollar stores, I love that reference. You know, you have two of the three kinds of dollar stores, so that's impressive. As you were, growing up, you had, your morning routine, hitting the balls, fielding the balls. I love that. What was your first kind of organized team experience? What grade did that happen?
Well, Carrie Shepard, who was my, I say I was the second ever coach there. She was the first, and she started sports she started girls softball at New Hope. She started because, and when I always laugh because she was, when you think of mentor, she was the ultimate mentor for me, but she was about this big, and just I don't think I ever heard the lady raise her voice, but she commanded a presence, and she could motivate you to run through a brick wall. So she started, it was intramurals. Basically, it was an intramural program. She called it Junior Lady Trojans, and because we were the Lady Trojans. And the first real time I remember being on a team, which I'm sure I played T-ball, and I know I did actually. I did all of that. But the first time I really remember being on an organized team was playing for the Junior Lady Trojans. It was the coolest thing ever because, you know, in Mississippi, if you know anything about slow pitch softball, New Hope was kind of we in the year from 2000 to 2012, we won 11 state titles as a school. So it was very much the standard. And so she had started that league, and the girls would help coach, like the softball players and it was the coolest that they would write you handwritten thank you notes for playing. It was the coolest thing ever. And she would be at the games and she would participate. So it was very, that's the first time I really remember being a part of, an organized team, which from there, and again, played a lot of travel ball, things like that, went around. I was on a Raider, is what we were. We were mustard and ketchup colored. It was the most hideous uniform. I see pictures now and I'm just like, why in the world did anybody ever let us dress like that? So, the old school shorts and, the tank tops. But I mean, it's always like if I wasn't playing, my sister was a collegiate athlete, my older sister. So it was always going to watch her play if I wasn't actually playing myself. So, my whole life, early childhood, grew up on a field of some kind. She was a freshman. I was in the fifth grade. So it was kind of one of those things to where, even before I could really play, I just followed her around because, she was my hero in essence of that regard. We didn't get along, how siblings do, but I mean, still, that's who I wanted to be. So.
Now, I'm real quick. I'm doing the math. So you guys probably got to play at least a year or two together on the same high school team, correct?
She graduated when I was a seventh grader.
Oh, I thought you said she was a freshman. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't do that. My freshman year, I guess that math wasn't right. I was very young when she was a freshman. Because then I was just thinking driving, because freshmen could drive. So when she graduated, I was a seventh grader. So yeah, we got 1 year together. Yep. Sorry.
Okay. No, that's okay.
I coached my younger sister and brother. That was pretty fun. I coached and taught them because we laughed. My family has two different. It was me and my older sister. And then my younger sister's 9 years younger than me, and my brother's 11 years younger than me. So there was 16 years difference in the oldest and the youngest. And so I got to teach both of my siblings. I got to coach my sister. I also was an assistant basketball coach for several years before. I mean, as I coached softball too, but I coached her in basketball and assistant softball in that little kind of volunteer role before Coach Shepard retired. But yeah, so fun dynamic when you're in a small town. That's part of it when you get to like teach and coach your siblings. So.
Oh no, absolutely. In my own family, there was I think 14 years between oldest and youngest. I was second youngest, but very cool. I love to hear the stories. Let's go and take our first break, but I want to come back to your high school experience. We're going to take that break, hear from a couple of our sponsors, but we are coming back with our guest today, Tabitha Beard, Certified Master Athletic Administrator and the Director of Athletics at Oxford High School in Oxford, Mississippi. Let's take that break. This is the Educational AD Podcast. Hey, we want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You heard me say before, probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. We use it for home games, of course, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile, and their customer service is just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thank you to Huddle. You know, as a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches, I'm telling you, all of our coaches just love the Huddle platform. Our student athletes love the videos. Our parents love the streaming, but there's a whole lot more. Go to huddle.com. Join the 100 million fans and users and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest again is Tabitha Beard. She's the Director of Athletics at Oxford High School, Oxford, Mississippi. Tabitha, you were sharing, your growing up, your youth, but you mentioned your high school had a tremendous run of state championships. Can you share a season or a moment from that experience with our listeners?
And I say this, that started after I'd graduated. We played for two. We lost both. My senior year, it is funny, I do have to mention this, is that my senior year of high school is when Mississippi adopted fast pitch softball. So, I laugh at the memory. We were 9-9. And I went from having the highest batting average in slow pitch softball to literally I almost got kicked out of a game because I just wanted to get on base so bad that I would throw myself in front of the ball because nobody was pitching really hard at the moment. So, I found out real quick I couldn't do that, but it also developed a really deep love of the game of fast pitch softball for me because I am one of those people that if I cannot do something, I'm going to figure out a way to figure it out. Does that make sense? Like I'm going to study, I'm going to work at it. That's just who I am. So, it started my journey as a coach there, but, backing up to high school in that run. But, when you were in small town USA, I mean, it's true now, these small schools, you play everything. So I did slow pitch softball, and then it went straight into basketball season. And then it was track after that, where I threw the shot, put in the discus. I did win some championships doing that. But then that senior year, they bring in fast pitch. So it's doing the shot and discus and doing that as well. So, it reiterated in my mind now, the more that I think about it, is that how much and how important all of that was in my life and how big of an impact that had on my life and how it shaped that. And, and I know we're going to get into careers later, but just thinking about that in those moments and, thinking about who was there and what an athletic director was, because I'm not going to lie, I couldn't tell you who our athletic director was. And it certainly wasn't a woman. So you didn't see that. I had my coaches. I had my high school basketball coach and my, softball coach who were, but again, we'll get into that later, I'm sure. But as far as, just a high school career, it was probably, I look back now, some of the best days of my life. It was one that I spent, making me the human I am. And it was really funny because not long ago we found some old VHS tapes because, that's what you had back then. Right. And, we were watching one of them, and one of them was a 7th grade beauty pageant where it said I was in a beauty pageant. Isn't that funny? My future plans were to be a math teacher and a softball coach. Like even that young, seeing, that's the impact that my high school coach had on me, because she's also the one I took the job, when she retired, I took over that too, from her. So the impact that she had and those things had in my life from such a young age, it just completely shaped my high school, experience, period. And, it was such a love, and getting to play for those championships and getting to be a part of that and getting to watch, I'm still really good friends with 80% of the people that I played high school softball with and that I played high school basketball with. So, just the relationships and those things that were built throughout the year throughout my years of high school, it's so, it's incredible and something that I take with me every day.
And it's such an important point. Those of us like you, I was a multi-sport athlete, we know the value of those experiences, playing for different coaches, different coaching styles, being on a team, not just, shooting 100 free throws or taking 100 swings, but getting out and competing in games. It's important. So good for you. Thanks for sharing that. take us on. You talked a little bit about it, but take us a little bit on your journey in college, and I'm going to guess your continued desire of becoming a coach and a teacher down the road. How did that all develop?
Well, like I said, it was kind of a weird conundrum and a weird time that I was going through sports. I loved basketball, but I was very slow and I didn't have a very good vertical. So I didn't go extremely far in that, but softball it was my passion. It was what I loved and wanted to do. And junior colleges still played slow pitch softball. But beyond that, they had all transitioned to fast pitch. So I started out at Delta State, ended up not playing. Then I was going to play at the W and they abolished all sports. So, I kind of spent a little bit of time, met my husband, moved back home, all the things, and I ended up getting married. We've been married what will be 27 years next month. So, it's kind of one of those. He's a few years older than me, and jumped in it. I was 19, and that's kind of shaped the end of my college career. But I got to, with coming back home, I got to be a volunteer coach with our high school softball team, and be able to be a part of that. And I got to volunteer to finish my career after I did move back home because I knew all of those people. And that transitioned very quickly into me getting a job right out of high school at that high school because I had done so much work. So I'd student taught some with, some other schools around and, applied for several, but I really stepped in, was able to step into that fairly quickly. Coach Shepard was, I think it was 2 years after I started teaching that she retired and I took that over. But, college to me really set me up and affirmed to me what I wanted to do, especially since I wasn't playing, but I still got to be a part of that and I still got to be around the sport and start getting my feet into, my foot into doors and being in conversations. And thankfully I got to student teach at that high school. And so it all just kind of transitioned in.
We use the phrase a lot talking about a young coach and sometimes young ADs. You don't know what you don't know.
Cool.
Now, in listening to you share your experience, coming up through the ranks as a player and having great coaches, great leaders, great mentors, I'm going to guess you had the fundamentals of down and teaching progressions. But what was something that you found out as a young coach that you didn't know?
Girls are really moody. Like I didn't realize it was so bad. I mean, and I laugh all the time because Coach Shepard and I, like, we were night and day. She's small, very quiet lady. I'm a very loud human in nature, extremely passionate. Like I say, I'm my father's child because he is the same way. But she taking over as a young coach in my first head coaching job in something with the magnitude of that program that I walked into and that I'd been a part of my whole life, you know, really having to learn that girls don't function all the same. Like it took me a few years to understand, and I use the example all the time. I was blessed for about a 3 year span with two of the best softball players to ever come out of the state of Mississippi. You had a DJ Sanders, who is now coaching at Auburn, and you had a Lauren Holyfield. Both played Division I softball. Lauren played at Southern. DJ played at Oregon. She led the nation Division I in home runs for a little while. Great, both great humans, but they were both high school pitchers. Lauren, if she got in a pickle, you had to get on her fanny, like you had to lay into her. And one time I just remember as a coach, I looked at the umpire and said, please call this a ball. I don't care if it's right down the plate, call it a ball. Like, do me a favor. Because if you made her mad, we were going after it. But DJ, if you did that, she would fall apart. Like,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was very much. So having to learn that, especially as a young coach, and having to understand that not all girls are going to respond well to my let's go gung ho kind of attitude. And, it took me a little while to realize that. It took some hardships and some tough conversations and some tough moments. I think even with the success that I had early on in my career, as a coach, it was kind of one of those things to where learning a lot by mistakes and, seeing it now as I've gotten older and really how I have evolved as a coach since then in the beginning. But I still remain a very passionate human, but I know who needs that side of me and when to soften it up some. And, who's just going to shut down, and to read the signs of when girls are starting to shut down, I think is the biggest thing.
Boy, you're just making me have flashbacks. I learned that lesson later in my coaching career. I wish I would have learned it earlier with two quarterbacks. One, I just literally had to get in his face. The other kid would just crumple if I did that. And I finally figured it out with him. Wow, great stuff. Let's go and take another quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to ask Tabitha to share the journey that brought her, what I like to say, to the other side of the desk as the athletic director at Oxford High School. So let's take that break. We're coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Home Campus for their support of the podcast. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every day. Things like scheduling, rosters, results, communication. How about facilities? Home Campus does all of these things, and they do them better. They do it faster than the other platforms. Did I mention athletic clearance and eligibility? That one alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com to see all the things they can do for you and your program. That's homecampus.com. We also want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and Beacon Creative. Now, Vital Signs has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade, but Beacon Creative takes it to a whole new level. Beacon is a content creation platform. They're going to take your stories, your history, and create compelling narratives that you can then post on social media. You don't have to lift a finger in the creation spot. You just have to post them. I want you to reach out to John Townsend, and you can email him at John, John, at beaconwalloffame.com. Beacon Creative and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. It's a winning team that you should be on. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Gipper is the modern marketing platform that makes it easy for your athletic department to look like it's Division I, look like it's professional. Gipper is used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college athletic programs. It's professional graphic design made easy. What makes it so easy? There are thousands of professionally designed templates that you can customize into your colors, your logos, and your brands. Create, share, and schedule all of your social media content on one simple platform, and that platform is Gipper. Go to Gipper.com for more information, and as always, make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast.
This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Tabitha, I want to bring you back for another episode. Your journey just sounds incredible, but let's jump fast forward to Oxford. Talk about making that decision to go from coach to AD, what I like to call going to the other side of the desk. And then tell us a little bit about Oxford. What makes it so special for you?
I always laugh because if you would have told me, probably about 12 years ago that I would be here and in this position, I would have laughed. I would have laughed really hard at you because it was not on my radar at all. And I always say that sometimes there are plans much bigger than mine. And I think that God laughs sometimes when we think we have our plans figured out and he's like, watch this. But I found myself at Oxford. This is my 10th year, and and I say, the divine intervention of I was really happy with life. Like I'd gotten in a spot at New Hope to where, when you start coaching your friends' kids and things like that, and I needed a break. I needed to walk away, and stumbled onto Tupelo. Loved that year at Tupelo. I got to teach the game and be an assistant coach, and I loved it. And then a really good friend of mine was the softball coach at Oxford. And my mom got cancer and his mom got really ill at the same time. And we were in the same division. So we kind of became prayer partners, and he knew he was ready to walk away, and he started calling me. And I was like, there's no way I'm doing that. And long story short, I end up at an interview in Oxford with the now superintendent. He was the high school principal, Bradley Robertson. Great guy. He in my mind is the epitome of what a leader should be in school. He is, he was a baseball coach, just an overall great guy. I could talk about him for hours. But I'm sitting in that interview and I'm starting to realize, and I kind of went in with some demands in my brain. It was kind of funny. And he met them all, and he was like, "What's next?" And so, well, I end up here, and I'm kind of like, "Okay, well, I'm here." So, we get into the town, and he is the one who got me into this spot because he kind of came to me in the middle of that first year, because I'm just with softball, I taught math, had taught it for a long time, and being a coach, you don't really get to plan much in the afternoons. So I was an early riser. I would be at school about 6:30. School here doesn't start till 8:30. So he and I would race sometimes. We'd call it our race to the parking lot because we would always laugh at who actually got here first. And we started having a lot of conversations. That's how we became very good friends. And he told me about a program. It was called Mississippi Alternate Path to Quality School Leadership, and it was kind of like an alternate route to be an administrator. He said, "I think you would be great at this." So I signed up, got into the program, kind of trusted him. I had to do 1,000-hour internship. I split it between him and our AD, kind of on the high school level and an athletic level, because he kept saying, "Tabitha, I just really think that you would be so good as an athletic administrator. That's kind of where I see you." And again, remember, seventh grade, I said I wanted to be a math teacher and softball coach. So I knew my path. That's where I wanted to be. And he kind of opened my eyes to that, and just getting involved in it, I kind of fell in love with it because it was the best of both worlds, especially in that internship where I got to broaden my scope from just the softball field to being able to watch and have a hand in and feel like I'm a part of the lives of so many other kids. And so I finished that program in about 4 years, and for about the next it was the next 3 years. I was the assistant athletic director under our athletic director. Then the department was set up. You had a fall AD and you had a spring AD. So I was the fall assistant AD. And then our football coach was the spring assistant AD. And that just kind of reiterated, my love for that position, and the value of that, and the value of being a female in that position. So really enjoyed that. And then when Mr. Martin, who was the head AD, retired, Mr. Robertson took the job, and he made it into what it is now at Oxford. I'm a co-activities director is my proper title. And I will tell you, and I think we both say this to just about everybody, this to me is the only way, or the best way, to do this job. There's two of us. We completely share responsibilities. Chris and I, he was the baseball coach, I was the softball coach. So we kind of already had a good relationship from working together in that regard and having that common interest. And then, we both kind of took this role together, and the only parameters we were given were, Tabitha, you have to deal with baseball for a little while, and Chris, you have to deal with softball, just because we're walking out of it and allowing those new coaches to fill those roles. So, we both kind of jumped in feet first and took over and made it into ours and what it is today. And because, we both had the same mindset of what we want out of this is what we feel like we never had from our ADs, as when we were coaches. So understanding that, and the support that we try to give our coaches and our kids, that's kind of what we live by every day. So, working with him and working, this job the way that I'm working it now is quite honestly, just the dream scenario, and doing it in Oxford makes it even better. So, the town is amazing. The people is amazing. And being this plugged in, to Ole Miss, because Ole Miss is right up the road. And, the things that I've gotten to experience that I never thought I would, just because of that, having a Division I college, in your backyard, it's very cool.
Wow, thanks for going into all that detail. It's unique. I don't want to say unique. I think it's a different way to run a department, and I love that you're jumping in and saying, "Hey, this is the way to do things." Having a co-director. Are there things that do you both do the same things at different times of the year, or are the responsibilities like you do transportation and he does officials or something like that, or are you both working on the same things at different times?
I mean, we both know our strengths, and we understand those. For example, Chris is I call him the video board guru. We got video boards everywhere now. We just got one at football, at soccer, softball, baseball. We all got those, and that's kind of Chris's baby. And I let him have that. Our intramural program, I kind of jumped into that feet first because how I lived that through New Hope and what I experienced there and being a part of that. So, I mean, as far as sports themselves, we don't say, okay, you do this, you do this. But as far as understanding our strengths and talking through things, we know like he's much better at that. I'm much better with this. So we just kind of do it both. And at the end of the day, our coaches know that, if they need anything, either one, it's unique in the sense of it's not okay, you're in charge of this and I'm in charge of this, because any given day we could either one of us could be doing anything, to be very honest. So, it's very much a partnership, in every sense of the word. I mean, we work very well together. We are able to disagree behind closed doors and walk out together with a smile on our face. I think we've closed the door and we've talked through it, and that's just what we do. So, it's very cool in that regard. But yeah, I think we just both kind of play on our strengths more than anything.
Again, that makes perfect sense. We're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but I want to do it now. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit more about, working with a co-athletic director or just add you to their network, what's the best way that our listeners can connect with Tabitha Beard?
I would say my cell. I know social media, I'm on it, but everybody, I give them all my cell number because my phone is an extension of my hand. And I don't have a ton of time to be on social media, sometimes at night, when everything's decompressing. But if you need me quickly, my cell, I'll give it to anybody. Do you want me to give it? My number is 662-386-2078. I've had that number since my very first cell phone. I'm not going to date myself way back that far, but, that's the number that I've had forever and I plan on keeping forever. So, shoot me a text or a call. I'm more than happy to talk to anybody about anything.
Okay. And if you're not a cell phone person, Tabitha's email is on the NIAAA membership portal. Speaking of NIAAA, we're going to hear all about Tabitha's certification journey, and she is a member of the NIAAA board. We want to hear about that and some more. So let's take another quick break. I know that's shocking to our regular listeners, but we are going to come back. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Booster Hub for their support of the Educational AD Podcast. Booster Hub is the #1 Booster Club software package, and it handles just about everything for your boosters. How about sponsorship payments, meal fees, concession sales? Everything is going to flow through their secure system. Volunteer changes, volunteer signups, it's going to happen. Nothing falls through the cracks. Everybody stays engaged through Booster Hub. Give your boosters the platform they need. Give them the platform they deserve. Go to boosterhub.com. We want to thank our friends at Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, full disclosure, I didn't get my master's through the Ohio program, but guess what? My assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. And while they were all earning their degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We also want to say thank you to Hometown. Hometown continues to be a leader in education-based athletics with their solutions that include things like, digital ticketing, of course. They're still the #1 digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. But how about athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising? Their list goes on and on. Whether you're a principal, an athletic director, even a head coach, Hometown is going to show you how to save time. They're going to show you how to raise money. And they're going to show you how to bring your entire community together. You'll find it all at hometown.com. And as always, make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast.
This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Tabitha, I mentioned a couple times, you are a certified master athletic administrator. Now, that doesn't happen by accident. Can you share with our listeners how you first got involved with NIAAA, how you first got involved with your state association, and we'd like to hear a little bit about your experience so far with the NIAAA board.
Okay. The guy that my head AD when I was his assistant, he was a part of the NIAAA. He went to, the national conference every year. I was not allowed to go, but he would always, it was always such a great experience, and he really, he really pushed me getting my CAA. The district that, I talked again about Bradley and everything at this point with how, you know, we're so, it's always about learning and getting better. And obtaining that CAA was the beginning of that. So I got plugged into NIAAA because of Mr. Martin, and because of this position. He's like, this is something that you really need to do. I got plugged into the state. I went to the state conference, but I was never very involved. But I'm sure you know her, Celeste Bramlett. She is big with the MAAA, and she and I became really good friends. And she kind of pushed me over, like, she knew, you know, she we worked a lot together and other things, and it was, hey, let's get to work, and I need help. And she was kind of doing most of it on her own, and so it came in as a need to help her. And you know being a part of that, and the people that I've met along the journey has been the biggest reason to keep going in both of them. It is amazing that I know that if I am stuck on something, I have someone in Florida that I can call. I can call Dan, or I can call Dustin. There's a million people now that I've made connections with that I can call. But getting back to the journey, so I got my CAA because of that. Took the exam during COVID, so I did it online. And then I immediately started, and this is going to be the competitive side of me, but there were two CMAAs in Mississippi, and there were two of us working on it, like had both expressed an interest. And by golly, I was going to be third. I was not going to be fourth. So I kind of kicked it up into overdrive, and started working really hard on my CMAA after that. And I really, the project that I used for that was something that was very dear to my heart along that professional development guidelines. We started an initiative that all of our coaches, our assistant coaches, have to be, it used to be called AIC-CIC certified, but now it's level 2, level 3 certified through NFHS. So that was what I did my project on, was us really incorporating that into our system, and the benefits of that, of offering, continuing ed for our coaches through NFHS and now LTI courses, things like that. So that's what I did my project on. And then again, became heavily involved at the state level with Celeste, planning our conference, doing things like that. Was got elected to the board. I was also as a state testing coordinator for the NIAAA, so started going to Indy to those boot camps and things like that with Celeste. So that's kind of how I got into the NIAAA a little bit more, again because Celeste kind of tagged me along and said, let's go. And when the secretary job came open, I just kind of looked at it, and as a chance of, how do I give back to an organization that I feel like has done so much for me. I mean, it's one of those, again, I have made so many connections and friendships and along the way that, that it's almost where it's really, really hard to put, a value on what the NIAAA offers and does. Because there is never a time where, if I need something, or if I'm in a state, I went to Oklahoma and shot a text to Dustin about, hey, I'm here, this is what I need. And, he just getting anything that you need, and being able to network and build a network and to grow. So, that's kind of how I got into that. Never in a million years really thought I would be elected. It was one of those things, because it is an elected position, and you can't really, campaign. You couldn't do anything. It was, you give a speech, and that was probably the most intense. I said, this was probably, I love going to national conference, but this one was the most intense one ever, because it was like the whole thing led up to that one delegate assembly, and it was the whole week. Like, I can't really talk about it, and I can't I can't campaign, I can't do all of that. But then, the day of and actually being elected, I was with two wonderful people, they narrowed it down to three. And there was one of those things where you just didn't know how that was going to go, but extremely humbled and honored, to be able to be a part of that board. And, with Dustin as the president right now, and, his whole initiative of making excellence normal, and, really getting to dive into that and to grow and to have that a part of my everyday culture and bringing that back to, to work and to school. And, I think about things now, good Lord, I will not go into a parking lot again without moving buggies because of Dustin Smith. So, just the things that, I understand the value of the 6 years that I have in that room. So, it's very, very cool to be able to be a part of that. And, so many great people along the way kind of pushed me on this journey. I mean, from Bradley, because again, math teacher, softball coach, I was living my dream. So, to kind of veer into this and where I am now, it's very, very cool transition.
Now, have you had a chance in your role to, be involved with, the committees and, helping, place people on the various NIAAA committees?
Well, that's Lauren. This year's my kind of understudy year where I'm learning from Lauren. So, but yes, going through that process with her has been very, very cool to look at, how it works and how you're placed there. Because I was on a committee. Shout out to the resolutions committee. So we were, I was just kind of plugging along my NIAAA journey, and when all of this kind of came up. So, I have been through the process because you have to do like the chairs and vice chairs and all of that, in February, and then you go into July when you recommend for next year. So Lauren's done a great job of training me. I feel like I kind of drive her crazy because I ask 500 questions, because when I tell you, like, the most organized humans are there, and they are, the system is meant to live far beyond me and her and anyone else that they've created. So, just getting to dive into those documents and looking, and just looking at the very conscious effort the NIAAA makes in making sure that the representation from every section and from state, even going down to the state level, things like that is all there and in those committees. And those are things that you didn't think about, when you were applying for those committees. But man, I mean, having to really look at, well, this person's leaving from section 3, this person's coming in from 5, and like, how does that keep the balance there? And, it's really, really neat to see. And just, I'm in awe of the people that I work with every day, and the time and the effort and the energy that they put into an organization to make it great and to make it for everybody.
Yeah. No, again, having been on certification committee for many years, I know exactly what you're talking about. Great people on those boards. Tabitha, this has been really cool. Spending some time with you, getting to know you a little bit more, but we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you certainly know your way around the world of athletics, but we're going to take one more break. We're going to hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. When we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 tools in their toolbox. So let's take that break, and when we come back, we're going to see what Tabitha Beard puts in her new athletic director toolbox. We want to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. At my school, we use surveys for just about everything. We use them for our student athletes, for our coaches, we even use them for our parents. And here's the cool thing. The information that came back on these surveys, almost always over the top positive. I'm talking 98% approval. We still got to hear from our squeaky wheel parents, but the surveys allowed us to hear their concern, usually address them before they turned into something big. But going back to that positive data, a tremendous resource, especially when you were visiting with a frustrated parent or student athlete, sometimes your principal, sometimes even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey just for you that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. athleticsurveys.com. And as always, tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast.
This meeting is being recorded.
Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Tabitha Beard, and I've already mentioned we're going to bring her back. Tabitha's a certified master athletic administrator, tremendous background. She's the co-athletic director, want to get that right, and activities for Oxford High School, and that's in Oxford, Mississippi. Also a member of the board of directors for the NIAAA. But right now, I'm going to challenge her to send out a brand new athletic director on their first job, but I'm only going to let her put 3 tools in the toolbox. So Tabitha, what 3 tools are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
The first thing I'm going to say is your state association handbook and your school handbook. Just because without those kind of regulate what you do every day. You have to know, and I think that was, I thought I knew a lot of things, but when you get into some of those rules, because the things you're responsible for, eligibility, like, I've always said that I feel like one of my most important jobs that comes second to serving kids here is to protect the entity that is the Oxford School District. I love this school district, but I also have as a district level administrator, which is what I am, I have a job to protect that entity. So knowing the rules, boundaries, and guidelines that we have to live by is super important. So I would say first is your handbook. And this is going to be a little different, but I think the second thing is as a young AD, you have to learn the ability to say no and to delegate very early, because if not, this job will wear you down really, really fast. So, my second is going to be a no button, like say no or say I'll get back to you or delegate that to someone else. And, there are parameters to that. And there's some things you can't say no to, but there are some things I think as a new administrator, especially I know in my experience that I felt like I had to say yes to everything because it was a constant state of trying to prove myself. And until, my superintendent, Bradley kind of set me down and said, Tabitha, you have nothing to prove. Like you have to slow down a little bit. Like you have to say, no, there's 2 of you for a reason. Your coaches can handle that on their own. Like there were some conversations that were had early on in that first year or 2, I think with Chris and I both, because we were both kind of running around we felt like we had something to prove, and, just being able to, say no to some things. It's okay to do that and to put your, mental peace first sometimes. And last, I think I am going to be the cliche in the communication. It is so important. And sometimes it's really hard. And I didn't understand that until I sat in my first of 753,000 cheer parent meetings. And after tryouts, when everybody is upset with you and you're not always going to be liked, and that's okay. People say often that leadership is lonely, but being able to communicate effectively with parents and with kids and with coaches and being able to communicate your needs with other people, which is sometimes hard because especially, in the mindset in my mind, if I told you or if I communicated with you that I wasn't really good at the video board thing and I didn't really get that, that made me weak. And that's something that I didn't want to be in the eyes of, but sometimes that's okay. And being able to effectively communicate that and your needs with other people, and being able to effectively communicate, period. That is one of, I think, also one of the most important things to have in that toolbox. So, and of course, I could go on about the cliches of kids first, but, and I think the most important piece of advice I can ever give an AD is at the end of the day, if you can say you did what's best for kids, then, you're doing the job right. So, because that's ultimately what we're here for. We're here to serve kids and to be the best we can, to be a small part of their journey and to get them on hopefully better than we found them. So that's it.
Oh, I don't think it's cliche at all, to talk about, being for the kids. So we're going to give you that bonus 4th tool to go in the toolbox because it's a great tool. Of course, it's for the kids. Tabitha, thanks again for coming on, taking some time out of your busy spring day. Earlier in the podcast, you gave out your cell phone, so thanks for doing that. If you want to reach out to Tabitha, you can go back and listen to that cell phone again. This time, give us your email. How can our listeners reach you through email?
TG Beard at OxfordSD, like schooldistrict.org. That's the best way. So I'm also on there. Email and cell phone are the best ways to get me. I have them both with me all the time. So tgbeard@oxfordsd.org.
And once again, Tabitha's information is on the NIAAA membership portal for all of our NIAAA members. Tabitha, thanks for coming on. All the best as you continue with spring sports. And hopefully we're going to be able to connect in person, at least worst case this year, in Phoenix at the National Conference.
See you then. Thank you so much.
Oh, you bet. And when you see Celeste, tell her, Jake said hi. She still owes me an interview on the podcast.
She 100% does. She will avoid it like the plague, though. This is not her thing. But I keep telling her she's got it. She's got to do it. And she's like, that's what I have you for. But For our listeners, we do appreciate you tuning in. And just a reminder, we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.